Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 3 of my Facebook Live series. Today what I'm going to talk about is the experience of living with feelings. Um, Even though many of us have mastered our outside worlds in terms of creating families and running businesses maybe, or having children or partnerships and those kinds of things, doesn't always necessarily mean that we know what to do with what happens inside of us. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. And the way that I picked the topic was that I started a Facebook group. If you haven't checked it out yet, come visit us at Visual Journaling, my Visual Journaling group on Facebook, Visual Journaling Expanding Your Emotional Intelligence. And in that process, as people ask to join, it's a private group, I do ask some questions about kind of what brings them to the group, what they're looking for in terms of support from the group, and how I might be able to help them. And so I've been wanting to start a Facebook Live series for a period of time based on the different topics that the group members have mentioned wanting to learn more about. In my opinion, being able to shape the group around what the needs are is such an important thing. So today is actually the first day. It's taken me a little time to get this Facebook Live thing going. I'm still learning, still pretty amateur at it yet. But today's the first day that I'm going to spend some time actually talking about a specific topic that one of the group members has requested to learn more about. So whoever it was that contributed this topic, thank you very much. I'm always looking for more topics to use for my Facebook Live. So even if you're not a member of our group, please feel free to ask for topics and more information. And if you'd like to learn more about our group, like I said, visit the link below. But in any event, we're going to talk today about living with feelings. What this means, to some extent at least, is learning how to recognize when we're having a feeling and understanding what that feeling is, what it means, the message in the feeling. You know, it's one of the really important things about feelings is that they're essential in our life. They bring us information about what we need or don't need. You know, when we think about need is not something that comes from our brain. Need comes from our heart and the feelings that exist here. And our brain is really just here to help us figure out the logistics of getting our needs met. So in the ways that we can have certain feelings in our lives, we are also cutting ourselves off from need. So feelings are a very, very important piece of our existence that often takes a hit when we're kids or when we're small, or, you know, at least even in our culture, right? We don't live in a culture that highly values feeling kinds of ways of being alive. You know, if I walk into the gas station and somebody asks me how I'm doing and I say, my heart hurts, they run as fast as they can. So we have to kind of have all of that in mind to know that most of us struggle in some ways to support our feelings because we never learned. We weren't taught how to do that, even though we do very adult-like things, drive cars, you know, pay mortgages, you know, all those sorts of things, doesn't mean we know emotionally how to work with that part of our existence. So feelings are important. Feelings are essential, certainly if we're ever going to have more satisfaction in our lives. And so the question, basically, I'm paraphrasing, from one of my group members was what they wanted more help with learning how to do was recognizing, understanding, and controlling their feelings. So let's talk about that. You know, the first place to start when we're thinking about feelings and how to begin to recognize and understand them is to start by learning about, you know, building awareness around all of the ways that we have learned to move away from feelings in our life. Now, certainly there are feelings that our society and even our families deem more okay to have. Things like joy and excitement and kindness and peace, gratefulness. You know, those are all feelings that typically don't get a lot of pushback. But the other set of feelings, you know, the ones that aren't always deemed pleasant, you know, or uncomfortable feelings, things like fear or heartbreak or anger or grief or sadness or helplessness, you know, those kinds of feelings. Often those feelings don't get the kind of support that they need to be able to be present, to be able to teach us about more of what we need to happen in our lives. And so I'm really talking about that part of the feeling continuum. Most people, when they come to therapy, they don't come to therapy to tell me how wonderful they feel and how happy they are in their lives. They're coming because they're struggling around being able to make room for that whole other set of feelings. And often people don't realize that in the beginning. They come and they want certain feelings to stop. But if we're going to learn how to recognize, understand, and live with our feelings, then the work becomes, how do I learn to support myself in my feeling experiences, no matter what they are, where I am, the amount of feeling I'm having, and so forth. And unless you got a lot of really wonderful, supportive, emotional safety and support around that as a child, chances are you've grown up to become an adult who has a hard time with some of those feelings yourself. And so it's kind of a far reach for us to think that we're going to go from being able to not have or not comfortably live with certain feelings or not be able to tolerate, maybe we'll say it that way. It's a far reach for us to think that we're going to be able to go from a place of no tolerance for certain feelings to immediately being able to tolerate those very same feelings. Because what often happens, what gets in the way of us being able to be with the feelings, is how we got met with when we were children around those feelings. And most of that is unconscious. That's why we want to move away. Okay, so we have to start by learning about all the ways that each one of us have adapted in our life away from certain feelings. And oftentimes the way that we begin to learn about that is by beginning to notice the places in our lives where we feel difficulty, or we feel stuck, or frustrated, or upset, or dissatisfied in some way. You know, those places that we don't always like to think about. Those are the places that are going to teach us about our feelings. Those are the openings that we need to be able to learn how to do that. And when I like to talk about safeties and supports, you know, we've talked about that before in our last episode or two. We all do something to manage our feelings when certain feelings that are uncomfortable come up, or we've just felt too much of a feeling and so on. So beginning to learn about the difficult places in our lives and how they might be preventing us from feeling something is the first place to jump in about this. You know, so for example, if we were to really be honest with ourselves and take an honest look at our life, we might start by examining, you know, what are the things that I do in my life to numb out, to get relief, to feel better, right? That's a big one. I just want to feel better. So what are those things? You know, we talked last time about safety supports that help us grow and supports that just kind of bring us relief or numb us out. That'd be where I'd start. What are the things that I do to get relief or to numb out when I'm having a really rotten day or just feeling kind of down or empty or lost? What are the things that I do? And that's the first place to begin, is to begin to explore that and to begin to notice when I'm doing those things. Not to stop those things. You know, that feels really important to say. It's not to stop those things. Rather, to bring awareness to, oh yeah, I'm engaging in that relief behavior that I'm beginning to learn is one of the ways I manage my emotions. So one of the very simple experiments that I love to offer, both to myself as well as to clients and anybody that I work with, is a very simple question that when you begin to notice these behaviors, and I'd encourage you to just pick one. You know, pick one thing that you wish you didn't do or could be different, or that you've begun to kind of wonder about if there might be some kind of emotional coping going on beneath it. And as you begin to notice that happening, you might just ask yourself, I wonder if I'm having a feeling right now. Not to get an answer, right? I don't care so much about the specific answer. That answer will come down the road as you work more with building support for this part of your life. But to ask the question as a way of beginning to create a different connection inside for the very thing you're doing to protect yourself from feeling something that would overwhelm you. That's where we have to begin. We can't get to the recognizing and the understanding and the decoding of feelings and experiences until we first can begin to even learn that we're having a feeling. Sometimes we notice we're having a feeling because our body starts reacting. Our body starts talking to us. We get a migraine headache, or maybe if we have fibromyalgia, it starts flaring up, or kind of noticing body aches or pains, or maybe our asthma really kicks in hard, and there's not a lot of necessarily environmental reasons why that should be happening. Oftentimes, our body is conspiring with our spirit to get our attention. And so for some of you, that might be the place to jump in at. When you notice a physical sensation or a body experience, or perhaps it's pain that won't go away, or an illness you can't just heal from, to maybe ask yourself, I wonder if I'm having a feeling. I wonder if there's something in this. Because most of the way we manage those uncomfortable feelings is very, very unconscious. It is far below our level of awareness. It's not going to be a brain activity kind of experience. So we have to start by both beginning to learn about all the ways we create emotional safety when we're experiencing one of these uncomfortable feelings before we can jump to the next pieces. And so that's the place to begin today. What is it that's happening in your life that you wish wasn't happening, or you wish was different, or you wish you could stop? One of the things I know for me is, and I've mentioned this before, I think in videos somewhere, but that, sugar is a way to sort of blow us out of our body. So if we're experiencing a feeling that is very uncomfortable, we might find ourselves craving sugar or sugary things. And carbohydrates tend to be something that help us kind of get back into our body, ground back into our body. So if we're very, very disassociated, which is another way of escaping uncomfortable feelings, we might notice that we're having a lot of carb cravings, okay? And some of you might say, it's not connected to emotions. But believe me, folks, it is. I like to say, not every hangnail means we're having a feeling, but a lot of the time there is an emotional component underneath that, and nothing more than with food kinds of behaviors. Sometimes our body just needs fuel. I agree. But when we're craving something and we check in with ourselves and we know we're not really hungry, there's something emotional to that. So one of the things that I've come to learn is to begin to notice when I'm getting a craving for, say, maybe a carbohydrate or something sugary, is I might be having a feeling, or there might be a feeling coming up. And it's a great way for me to begin to support myself, to know that safety is important. There are things I'm going to need to do before I'm even going to be able to feel the feeling, which is going to be a next piece, before I can even begin to know what I need on the other side of the feeling. So we have to start very simply. So that's your homework. When you begin to notice yourself doing something that you wish you weren't doing, that was different in your life, is to ask yourself, I wonder if I'm having a feeling right now. And see what comes up. And I'd love to, as always, love to hear about that. So I welcome your comments, your feedback. Please feel free to reach out to me directly. In my email, all my contact information is on my website. For those of you who might be interested, come check out my Visual Journaling Facebook group. It's a community of support for people similar to you who are looking to deepen their healing and emotional journey. And for those of you who want to take this a step further, want to kind of deepen your understanding about your world, your emotional experiences, and what all of that means, check out my self-guided visual journaling course. I just launched it yesterday. It is live. It is open for registration. It is around the topic of visual journaling, which is one of the ways we begin to learn about the feelings and all the ways we live feelings. And the title of the course is Visual Journaling, Using Images to Get Deeper Than Words and Get Unstuck in Your Life. So for those of you who might be interested, check it out. The link is in the comments below. The link is in the little description below here. And just so you know, those of you who sign up for the class before June 22nd, there are a bunch of additional bonuses in addition to already everything in the course package. So you can, again, get to it through the link below, or if you need more information or have questions, certainly feel free to reach out to me as well. So thanks a lot for listening. Most of you will not have listened live. This was kind of a last minute thing today. I wasn't sure where to fit it in, but I wanted to get a Facebook Live in. So Thank you to everybody for the rewatch, and reach out if I can help. Thanks. Bye-bye.